Sorry. 7:06, we are going to establish that we have a quorum. And I'm going to read the script for remotely conducted and or hybrid meetings. We are using Zoom for this meeting, which allows the public to participate in the meeting as an attendee. The chair can request the members of the public provide their names for purposes of keeping the accurate minutes. Attendees must register to participate. The registration link is unique to this meeting, and the registration link can be found in the description of the Nantucket Government TV YouTube things. Attendees will join in listening mode, and they can click to raise their hand and button to wish if they would like to speak. Sorry. The chair will call on those who have raised their hands in order that they be raised. All questions should be directed to the chair. As a preliminary matter, this is Dorothy Hertz, Chair of the Contract Review Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipating on the agenda are present, can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John Balash?
Just got in.
Okay, we'll go to Linda Williams.
Here.
Joanna Roach.
Here.
John Balash.
Here.
Bert Johnson.
Here.
Sue Minahan.
Sue Minton, present.
Sorry, I say that wrong every time. My apologies, Sue. Veronica. Here. Staff members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. I'm going to go to Tamika first because she's online.
Tamika Gary here.
Heather
Heather Nardoni here.
Jericho.
Jericho Mealy in attendance.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative.
Just share
And
it.
I believe we have Sherry Hunt.
Present.
Thank you. Good morning. This is an open meeting of the CRC. Is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting of the CRC is being conveyed by video conference via Zoom app and is posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that the meeting will be recorded and that all attendees are some are participating via video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called further. Please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in the conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items of public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment on those members. It's actually going to be reversed in this due to the fact that the public will speak to us first and have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. So
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Veronica.
Aye.
Bert.
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
Dorothy, aye. I do think if we can move other business for a minute up, could somebody make, and the reason I'm asking to do that is we have to accept the amendment to the Elder Services grant.
Okay.
Okay, and so if we can do that, I would like to do that. So then we can go on to the Elder Services, okay?
And so I'll make a motion to move other business up to this point in the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So Veronica,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Dorothy, aye. Okay, so I would just like, we had requested that they make an amendment because the front page did not match what they were requesting. And they did send that in, and what I'm asking for is that we approve it. And what it does is identifying the 30,600, it breaks it down on page 13. Just show that they were asking the 5,600 for them for the taxi service to provide the food to the Salt Marsh Center, and the other is for the food cost.
We need to make a motion.
We do need to make an emotion to approve the amendment and the correction in their submission.
So I think we just,
I'll make a motion to approve their amendment, with a correction to the overall grant request amount to 30,600.
second.
Okay, Veronica,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Dorothy, aye. Okay, sorry, Sherry, can you go ahead?
Sure. Just understand I have limited information with me. I'm actually home with COVID. So,
Boy.
yeah, it's been great. Not so much. As you said, Dorothy, we did amend it because there was a different ask this year, which was 5,600 to pay someone directly to transport the food to Salt Marsh every day. Previous to this, we had used the person doing the actual meal program, which was Mark, but Mark has left, and it was becoming increasingly difficult for us to get the food there using employees because it took away from other responsibilities we had. So we were able to locate someone who's been great. He started the 1st of December. And then we returned the empty Cambro unit ourselves, which is a little easier to lift and manage. So that is part of the 30,600. The other is that our current meal price is $20.25 per meal, and that is just meal cost. That does not include any overhead. That is a 27% increase over our request of last year. Currently, year to date, we've served 5,335 just Meals on Wheels. That does not include congregate.
Can you repeat that again, Sherry? I'm sorry.
That's all right. Year to date, 5,335 meals have been served to just Meals on Wheels consumers. I don't happen to have the congregate numbers, so I apologize. They are fairly low at this point because it took us quite a while to be able to reopen after the initial COVID issues. And so it's kind of been a slow regrowth, and now we have some COVID exposures back out there again. So the numbers continue to stay on the lower side. I really am hoping to see them increase over time. But at present, we're serving less than 20 per day, I would say.
I think pretty consistent at around 12 to 15.
Yeah. I mean, we've had the occasional good 20, but it's occasional at this point. So I don't quite know what else can I ask or answer for anyone. One of the things maybe I've never touched on is the fact that when we open a homebound client for Meals on Wheels, we immediately provide 3 shelf-stable meals to be used in emergencies when we're not able to get out and deliver, which happens very infrequently. But each person, when they come on as a new client, receives 3 emergency shelf-stable meals. so that when I'm working with the fire department in anticipation of storms, we know all of those people are covered in the event that there's a power failure. That's something that was new in the last year.
That's great. Okay, I'm gonna let people ask questions, Jerry.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get you out of here as quick as we can. Bert, you have any questions?
No, I'm just sorry to hear that the cost keeps going up. I remember when it was down around $12 or $13.
I remember too, Bert.
But then you remember when you could get a sandwich for $2.25.
Hey, John, I can remember when hamburgers at McDonald's were 35 cents.
Don't we
Okay,
all?
so, any questions?
Me, I wanted to say thank you for including the survey data. I thought that was really helpful and informative. But
Thanks.
I have no other questions.
We do
Okay,
a survey
Joanna?
here, Sue. So thank you for acknowledging that.
Joanna? You're muted, I'm sorry. I'm assuming you said no questions.
No questions.
Okay. John?
I have no questions, but I just want to absolutely be, what should I say, thrilled, I guess, to hear about those 3 shelf-stable meals. Because I have to believe that that means a great deal, even just for the mental well-being of the Meals on Wheels people, knowing that there's something there if they have to have it. I'm done.
Okay, Linda?
I feel the same thing as John, and I hope you feel better soon, Sherry. I know it's tough. A lot of people are coming down with it now.
Thank you.
Do you need a Meal on Wheels? Do you need shelf-stable meals? You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, fortunately, and I'm old enough to.
Only question that I have is that you're doing 12 to 15, maybe up to 20 a day. Is there anything that can be done for more outreach? Because we know the people are out there, that you're
That's congregate.
consistent with.
That's
Yeah,
congregate.
Oh, that's congregate. Oh, this is for the salt marsh. Got you. Okay.
Congregate,
Yeah, the
congregate's the
congregate's
Saltmarsh
different than the
program.
ones.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm sitting here saying, there's more than that. Thank you.
Yeah,
My question.
up through December, we've been serving 53 people for Meals on Wheels.
Okay.
Numbers adjust all the time because some people come on short term for illness, coming out of a hospitalization. There are that are
Okay,
Thank you.
Sherry, I do have a one question to ask you. Just in regards to, I'm happy that you were able to secure the taxi service to help you drive down, but in the efforts that we've been asking this year, just out of curiosity, have you reached out to some of the fraternal organizations like the Masons, the Odd Fellows, or the Knights of Columbus to see if any of those organizations could help with the transport of foods?
No, I can't say that I did. I mean, I reached out to quite a few where the taxi services all declined. This is an independent person who actually is working for Kitty's, who does all our food prep, and has been delivering meals for Kitty's to Toscana workers. So we were able to tag into that, is how it worked. I did not reach out to any of the organizations. Oftentimes when I have dealt with some of the organizations, the volunteers are pretty straight out, let me say. And they don't have a lot of time to take on something in the middle of a work day. That's the bigger problem. The food has to be picked up and delivered to the senior center by 11. So that puts a lot of people at work.
Yeah, I just, with some of those organizations, some of the people are retired, so the question would be, not going against anything you're doing, but it might be worth sending out a letter, just seeing if you have any possibilities there.
Right. The issue though, Dorothy, is that you have to be able to pick up this Cambro unit, which is
Right.
full of food. And quite honestly, I couldn't do it. So that's what made me, I had to start sending 2 of my employees every day to be able to pick it up, get it in a car, then one follow the other down to the salt marsh and unload it. It's not, and the weight depends on how many meals are in there.
Right. I understand that. I'm just putting it out there.
No,
Sherry,
yeah,
as always, thank you very much for everything you do. You're an amazing woman. I don't know where this community would be without you, behind
thank you.
the helm there at the Elder Services.
Appreciate that.
And I don't want to know. So, I hope that you feel better, and if you need anything, please reach out.
Thank you. Thank you all.
You're welcome. Okay, take care.
You as well. Bye now.
Bye. We are bringing in Small Friends. And Nicole, could you please, state your name? And it's, they actually came in a while ago, but it's 10:22 a.m. and we're welcoming, Nicole and Catherine, and you just have to state your name and what organizations you're with, okay?
Sure. Good morning. Nicole Olson, Executive Director of Small Friends on Nantucket.
And I'm Catherine Padian. I'm the Development Director at Small Friends on Nantucket.
You're welcome. We'd love for you to do your presentation and then we'll ask questions. And I just have to make a statement because I just realized that we are on being recorded on a private device right now, so everybody should know that. Okay,
The minutes, for the minutes.
for the minutes, yes, but just so everybody knows that. Sorry that I didn't announce that when we started. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to take the lead on this one. So we're seeking $30,000 in funding so that Small Friends can continue operating our summer program. So this will occur during the months of July and August of 2024. And really, we're seeking support to maintain this program because, as you know, our mission at Small Friends is to continue improving the quality of life of Nantucket's families by providing high quality early education and childcare for our year-round islanders. You know, work doesn't end during the summer, so they still need our services. And we pride ourselves on having the most, one of the most, if not the most affordable childcare option on island. So when we looked at some of the comparable summer programs, there's an on-island, summer camp that serves preschool age children. It operates for 5 hours from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. And they serve children age 4 to 7, and they're $980 a week. And then there's another preschool on island that operates 7 hours a day. And depending on if they are previous students or they're new students just for their summer program, during the summer, they charge $600 to $750 a week. Whereas Small Friends, we are at $325 for our preschool students per week. So significantly less. The other programs on island are $275 to $655 more per week. And, you know, that's something that we've been able to do because of support from this grant and from other grants from the town. Our main concern is teacher retention and staffing. So by allowing us to retain our staff, you know, we're able to keep our rates the same as a nonprofit with a pretty small overhead expenses. We tuition only covers kind of part of teacher salaries, but we really rely on grants and other funding streams to fund those salaries so that we can keep our tuition costs low. And as I said before, this grant really helped us throughout last summer. But another great thing that this grant has partially allowed was our hiring of more teachers. So we've hired 6 additional educators since applying last year. So that kind of goes to our higher cost or our higher ask, because obviously we have more teachers to support. And, you know, ultimately, Unfortunately, we're still not at our capacity enrollment from before COVID. So with that, to get to that, we have to continue hiring more educators. And to be able to do that, we have to retain the educators that we currently have. Sorry, there's a classroom walking by right now saying hi. But yes, so that's where we're at now. And we're very thankful for everything that we've been able to do so far and are just looking forward to continue building on that.
Okay, Nicole, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think she covered our ask, our proposal. I think it's just important to highlight, as she noted, the significant difference in cost of Small Friends compared to other providers on island that are offering summer camp. $980 a week is significantly more than what Small Friends is charging their families of $325. So it's important for us to stay open throughout the summer months. We know Nantucket in summer increases, and everybody's jobs, landscapers and the cooks and all the people that make this island run heightens over June, July, and August. So it is important for us to fulfill our mission and to remain open through those summer months for the families that are here, the working families that are here, and have quality childcare. So I think that that's just important to highlight, that we want to continue to be able to do what we've been doing.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask a question right off the bat and then go to everybody. Can you give us the names of the organization that's charging $980 and who's charging the $600 to $700 range?
Yeah, so Strong Wings is $980 per week, and Lighthouse School is $600 to $750 per week.
Dorothy, I can tell you that our camp at Mariah Mitchell camp is $595. So we worked hard to be the least expensive camp.
And just out of curiosity, Joanna, just because you chimed in there, can you tell me if you do this age group that they do?
What is the age group again?
So, well, Small Friends, yeah, well, we only really did comparable to our preschool age, but we actually are from 3 months until 5 years old. So the other camps on island tend to begin preschool age.
Yeah, we have a younger group, and then we also do a scholarship program, which any local family can apply for. And also we offer 50% off to local families the last 2 weeks of August when there is no other childcare on the island.
Okay, good to know. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start with Linda this time.
I'm still shell shocked by the amount of money that is being charged by the other entities, because 2 of my kids went to, that's crazy, went to Strong Wings. And I just flabbergasted by that. So I really appreciate you doing this for the summer. Because what those guys have done is they pretty much X'd out most of the, other than Mariah Mitchell, X'd out most of the local population.
Yep.
It's just horrible. But I appreciate your program greatly. I always appreciate all the efforts by your organization, Small Friends. I always have. One of my youngest went to Small Friends decades ago, but I appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to John Balash.
I don't think I have anything to add to what I've heard.
Okay. Sue?
I guess my only question, and it's sort of related, but is a few years ago when I was working at the community school, we were always talking about the need for childcare and different programs. So I'm wondering, is it just people got used to having their kids at home, or kind of group raising kids that is keeping the program from not getting full yet?
Oh, no.
Sorry, Catherine, I'll just jump on
Yeah,
this
go
one.
for it.
Our enrollment is strictly based because of staffing. So we're licensed by the Department of Early Education and Care, and we're mandated to maintain certain ratios. So we can only have a certain amount of children based on the number of staff that we have.
Oh, okay. So it's you're staffing up and then you can take more.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, I didn't know if it was the other way around, that you weren't
Yeah.
staffing because you didn't have.
Right. Yeah. So when we reopened from COVID, we reopened with 21 children, and we've been slowly able to increase over the past several years. Right now we're at 46, which is our highest since reopening from COVID. We're licensed for 69. So our hope is to continue to hire educators and continue to fill our classrooms up to capacity.
Okay, awesome. That makes more sense to me.
Sure.
Any other questions, Sue?
No.
Okay, Bert?
No, my 2 questions were just answered. Thank you.
Okay,
One from Linda,
I already did Linda.
she raised.
Okay, Linda?
What you just said, at the very end is interesting, because we've been able to follow your staffing versus how many students all through the pandemic and up to now, because you haven't been able to get more staff for various reasons. And it's very interesting to watch the continuum over the last 3 or 4 years of how you've been able to increase, as you've been able to increase staffing, because we've heard that every single year, and it's been interesting to watch it increase over the years. So I'm very happy about that.
Thank you. We are too. It's important to us to help serve the island community. We have a significant waiting list, and we know the need is great on island. Although this grant is specifically comparing preschool age children, we are the only infant provider, licensed childcare provider on island other than family providers. So it's important for us to continue to seek educators and grow our enrollment up to capacity, because we know that the need isn't going away. If anything, it's increasing. So that's important for us. So thank you, Linda, for acknowledging the increase.
Okay, Veronica?
I know that when we spoke last year, salaries, et cetera, have you been able to raise your salaries with funding that you've received?
We have, yep,
That help acquisition of new teachers.
Absolutely. Yep. So the past 2 years, we've been able to adjust our pay for our existing employees, which also in turns adjusts our pay scale. So when an applicant comes in, I feel like we have a competitive rate that is attractive for new educators. Also, we have a generous PTO policy. We have some additional benefits that we're able to provide, an EAP program. So I think that helps also in the overall picture of retaining and also recruiting educators.
Do you have any potential new staff members coming on to increase it from the 6 that you did this year?
I'm excited that you asked that. I had an interview yesterday morning, and I also have another one set up for Monday morning. So hopefully, pending their references and background record checks, they'll be able to start in the next few weeks, which will be great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I ask Joanna?
Yeah. Oh, no, you did.
No, I
Sorry.
didn't. Okay, Joanna.
No, I'm good. My questions were also answered.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. First of all, Nicole, I'd love to see how you actually got a little red in the cheeks when you talked about having the 2 new employees. It's cool.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, I can see that it is for you. It's good.
Yes.
Does your population increase during the summer months? Do you take on more students than normal?
We don't. Typically, I would say our enrollment is pretty consistent throughout the year. Our families are the working families that are here. So generally they enroll and they stay with us year round. In the event that we had a child that was going to leave for the summer and come back for the fall, for whatever reason, I would try to accommodate that by finding a summer only child to fill that spot. But typically we don't see that happen very often. The families that are here, as I mentioned, landscapers, firefighters, police officers, they work for the hospital, they work for the town, they're working year round, so they need that consistent care year round.
Okay. Just noting the hours of your operations, how does the stop time of 3:30 affect families?
I would say it was an adjustment when we reopened from COVID. Obviously, we were open till 5:15, but I think families now have figured it out, have worked with their employers that, you know, these are the hours that I'm able to provide care or receive care. So these are the hours that I'm able to work. our goal is to fill the center back up to capacity till 3:30 and then work on staffing to reopen the building until 5:15. It's really important for us to get back to capacity, even if it's only until 3:30, we'd be able to serve that many more families. And then look at hiring additional educators or continue to hire educators that will cover the second shift to work till 5:15.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, I did see that you had some, but do you do any collaborations with like artists? I see that you do it with the fire department and you said that you do some stuff with the Mariah Mitchell. I think there was one other organization, sorry,
Nisha.
yeah, Nisha, thank you. But you have the art, do you get any collaboration or have you reached out to things like the Art Association Sustainable Nantucket for gardening and nutrition and or the NHA, which has really developed their youth program tremendously over the last little over a year, to have as additional educational resources available to you?
Sure. So the Artists Association, we had reached out several times last year. We received a grant for art exposure for our preschool age children. And we reached out to them several times about coming and doing a class for us. And we just we didn't receive I guess the response or the communication that we needed in a timely to be able to fulfill the grant requests. Sustainable Nantucket, that is on Catherine and I's list to reach out to this year for our garden. We have not in the past, but we do have some very green thumb educators here, but we would love to partner with them and do something in our garden area in the back of our school because we already have that established. And I just wanted to add the Athenaeum also comes. We partner with them. They come at least twice a month to the whole entire center to read books to the children, in addition to Nisha and the other ones that you mentioned.
And how about the NHA? Have you reached out to them?
We have done some like with the Whalen Museum and tours and bringing the children in. I wouldn't say most recently, probably in the past 6 months to a year, but we have in the past.
Okay. And how successful has your fundraising been this year?
We did well this year. We were probably at least 30,000 over our annual appeal goal, which was great. We had 2 large donations come in that were very, very generous that we didn't plan on. And then also our fundraising and our events, we've kind of shifted. As you know, still from COVID, we never brought back the Nantucket Art and Artisan Show live. The cost to put on that show was extremely high, and for the amount of money and work that it didn't make sense. So we pivoted to an online event, and we've been doing that since 2020. And each year we have seen that grow more successful in our gross net profit that we get from that. So overall, very, very well for 2023. And we project the same, hopefully better. We brought back the hoedown in 2023. We reserved our date for 2024 with Rocky at the Chicken Box. So we'll do that event, and looking at continuing the Art and Artisan Show virtually as well.
Good, glad to hear it. Does anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay. Nicole and Catherine, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And I'm very excited
Thank
for you,
you.
Nicole. I hope those 2 interviews go really well.
Me too. I appreciate it.
Fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Brian Lane. Coming in from room A.
Oh, why didn't you just come in before? Hi, Brian.
He was prepping. He was getting his
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Good
prepping,
morning.
huh?
Would you like me, go ahead. Would you like me to lead off with the presentation?
Yes, please.
Now, guys, I'm gonna share a screen real quickly.
Brian has to announce himself, please. Brian, you have to announce yourself for the recording, please.
Certainly. Good morning. My name is Brian Lenane. I work for the Nantucket Community School, and I'm here on behalf of the Sherburne Commons Memory Cafe program.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Gave it to you in 2 formats.
I think I have the full PowerPoint.
Okay, yeah.
Let me just move you.
We can only see a little bit of that PowerPoint.
Well, we
online.
can't see anything yet, so we're just.
Wait a minute. Now you should be able to see
Is
it.
everybody seeing this now?
No,
No.
it was a full screen before, but now it's not. It's a half screen.
All right, 1 second. Do technology. Share screen. There. All right, how about now?
Oh,
Why isn't that not full?
There it
is.
is.
There it is.
don't touch it.
All right, I'm gonna scoot this stuff out of here. You're gonna have to do without visual feedback.
That's fine. I'll listen attentively.
Well, we'll give feedback when we're done. When we're
Okay.
done.
Okay, cool.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Can you advance it?
Yeah, let me
Okay,
get the mouse back. There we go.
okay, great. All right, so last year you funded us as a startup. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update of what we've accomplished so far. Okay, and then we can get into the specific ask. So for those of you who don't know what a memory cafe is, a memory cafe is, I'm not gonna read off of the slide, but it's not respite care. And we had this discussion last time. It's not to drop your loved one off and then you can go shopping. It's for the caregiver and the patient to be together in a social setting and have some distraction and engagement and to do different kinds of activities. And you'll see that we've tried different activities in the process. And the other part of the Memory Cafe is for the caregivers to connect with each other. How are you dealing with this? Oh, I found out this service and all of that. So just trying to also build a community around this group, because giving care to someone who's has these kinds of ailments can be very isolating. Okay, so that's why we want to connect the community. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. So it takes a village every time to do these things. The residents at Sherburne Commons is both our fiscal sponsor, they're the 501c3 who actually receives the fund, and they also generously allow us to use their facility to host a cafe. This committee obviously supported us generously. Landmark House has also given us a grant, and they're going to give us a grant again this year. And then I work for the community school, and we're the operator, if you will. Rachel felt that it was, that her staff couldn't do this, but the community school is better organized to do it. And so she asked Alicia Graziade, my director, if we would do it. Since it's an adult education program, it fell into my purview. Okay, and I'm happy to tell you that we've hired a facilitator for this program. Jennifer Costanzo has done a brilliant job so far. So let's go on to the next slide, please. So we've decided on a date. It's the first Tuesday of every month. We do it at the residence of Sherburne Commons. They have parking, they have handicap accessibility, they have different size rooms. It's a wonderful, if you haven't been there, it's a wonderful facility. And we decided we were going to try and go around lunchtime, and then we started thinking, oh, do we want meals? Do we have to do this? Do we have to do prep? And so we settled on this time from 10 to 11:30. And we asked caregivers, we asked volunteers, we asked other Memory Cafe programs, and that time slot has worked well. Takes a while to get the patient ready to exit, so we get everybody up. And then, then we get in the afternoon, then it's time for lunch and maybe a nap. And so this seems to be the right window. And that's a picture of Jennifer at one of our cafes. Okay, let's go on. The objectives, I'm not going to read all these. These are in our proposal. And we really try to address these in each one of our programs. And the typical format is that, oh,
Sorry, it's so
oh,
cold.
56 is like an ice box this morning.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't see
Yeah,
it. in
yeah,
here.
that's quite all right.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry. It's really cold in here, guys.
Okay. All right, all
Sorry.
right. Well, with half the people with their hats on it, yeah, you get an indication.
It's cold.
Yes. So the kind of the basic format of the meeting is we get everybody in, they introduce themselves. And typically we ask the question, you know, how are you connected to Nantucket? And so I moved here and so we try to get everybody talking and then we move to an activity of some sort. Which, and I'll show you some of those. So, I would love to move on here if we could click that, but I think he's tracking down.
He's
the
tracking
thumbs.
down the heat because we're
Yeah.
freezing in here. Let's see if we can
See
do
if
this.
you can click one more.
If I go like this and just click 6, will it come on? There we go.
All right,
Okay.
so we requested a budget this year, which is more than we requested last time, okay? The primary increase is about advertising, and I'll go on that our biggest challenge is outreach. You know, we've been in Daybreak, we've been current, INM ran a press release, okay? We're using social media. We're still not getting, our goal was 10 or 12 pairs. We're stuck around 4 or 5, okay? Most of those people come from our island home, which is a wonderful association, but we know that there are more people out there. There are even more people at Sherburne who could even walk down the hall and attend, and they're not. So that's what we've asked for, a lot more money for advertising and social media. The travel costs are, we want to go abroad to go and see what other memory cafes are doing.
Oh,
Okay, right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And as you know, it is expensive.
Yeah.
Every time we go off, you either bring in your car or you've got to rent a car. And so that's what that's all about. The fiscal sponsor fee, Sherburne Commons says, my accounting people are happy to help, but it ain't free. And so they charge kind of a 3% to process all of the invoices and all of that, okay? And then the talent fees, now we haven't done this yet, but we have performers to come. Most of them say, oh, I'll do it for free. But I wanted to have at least some funds if we wanted to bring, I don't know, a stand-up comedian or somebody else. So I budgeted a bit for that. So that's really what the delta is in terms of the increase for this program. I will tell you, we will accept less than the full amount to run this program. But I wanted to give you a full picture because we're learning as we go along about what is the true cost of this program. And what's it going to be like in order to have a good budget for sustainability going forward? All right. Would you go on to the next slide, please? So our progress to date, we've held memory cafes successfully and people have attended and we've gotten people engaged. So it works. Okay. That's the good news. Second thing is we have plans to continue this on a monthly basis, which we do. And you'll see in the proposal, we actually have mapped out what the events are going to be and the activities and things like that. And then we've recruited a couple of volunteers and they come to each one. And with Jennifer and the 2 volunteers, everybody gets individual attention, right? And we can wrangle the group quite well with that level of staff. Okay. We can go on to the next slide. You may have seen this out there on social media. This is our flyer. It was designed by Jennifer and Lindsay Pikus at the Nantucket Community School, our Director of Marketing. And it has all of the elements at the bottom of all the people who've supported this. And we keep updating this and pushing it out on social media. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So one of the highlights is we got a preschool to come and sing Christmas carols. It was fabulous. It was fabulous. And Melanie is I don't know if you met her. She is brilliant. She has 10 or 12 little people and she's got them all singing from the same hymnal, okay, if you will. And so it was wonderful. And so I just want to share some visuals now of what we did. So we went to Sherman, and of course the kids love the Christmas tree at Sherman, which is, the biggest tree they've ever seen. And so it really was terrific because our participants were singing along with all of the songs, and it was great. And even Sherman residents were stopping, like, oh, what's this? So hopefully we're going to attract more people here. But then we go on and we do other activities where we did fall flower arrangements. And so everybody got their thing and everyone created one, and they brought it back to wherever they were going to go afterwards. And then let's go on to the next slide because I want to be mindful of the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Multitasking.
Okay.
Not as good at that.
Now this is where we brought a performer in, and he took requests. Yes, and he took requests. And we sang She's Coming Around the Mountain, and we did all of those, and it was great because singing is another way to bring back memories, right? And so and it was great. And again, so we keep experimenting, trying to figure out how to engage people. And then let's go on to the next slide. So attendance is our challenge, okay? We've got the format, we've got the people, we've got the venue, right? We've made some progress, but this is the challenge. And so what we plan to do to increase enrollment is we're going to create a brochure, which is a leave behind, so that we can go to more places and leave it behind at our island home and all these other, at Homestead, everywhere that we need to go. We're going to meet with churches. We're going to try that. We haven't really engaged them and said, are there any parishioners that you may have that might benefit from this? And if they get a nudge, maybe they'll come. And
other services there.
Oh, yeah, we're engaged with other
Okay.
services. Yeah. They're a big supporter. We go to the healthy community. We go to the monthly meeting of the healthy, what is it called? Collaborative, and and they're very supportive.
Mhm.
But we're going to try and we want to go to different places. We're going to go to the Rotary Club and say, hey, can you help us? Is there something that you can do? We're also, and it's very expensive, as you all know, to place an ad in the Ink and Mirror. Because once you have an ad in there, then you show up on their calendar of each month. So I don't know, if we get the funding, we can do that, but it's ghastly expensive. Okay. Let's go on to the next slide. And Jennifer, of course, is, for additional contact, you can reach out to her. That's our presentation for this morning, and I'm delighted to take.
I'm just gonna make a suggestion real quick, as I did with Elder Services, is some of the fraternal organizations to reach out to them. The Masons, the Knights of Columbus, and the
Yep.
other fellows.
Yep.
Additionally, NCEA just landed a large, medium-sized senior transport grant that you might want to reach out to John Copenhaver at. I'm happy to make that connection for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, our Island Home provides a transportation for their patients, but yes, we could use that.
They were specifically talking about doing like off-island trips.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna start with Veronica.
Couple of things.
Yes.
It's fantastic. From last year to, hearing what was going to be and what you have been able to pull together. I love having the preschool and just school age kids because it's a link. It's beneficial for them. It's beneficial for the older folks. It's
Yep.
fabulous.
Thank you.
Here again, now the teacher in me is coming out.
Uh-huh.
We used to bring our students to the nursing home for every holiday. We
Right.
did, making hearts at Valentine's Day, et cetera, but it's a win-win for everybody. The churches,
Yep.
you will reach the caregivers.
Right.
And that's what has to happen because the 8 o'clock mass at
we have
St.
Rachel.
Mary's,
Rachel has joined us at,
I noted, it's been for a minute, I noted it.
okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
because the people are out there and I appreciate your explanation because when I looked at this, I think it's a wonderful program, but the advertising
Right.
and the social media cost or whatever sort of jumped out because it seems out of whack. But I understand now your difficulty in reaching folks. You know, people are, you know, especially this time of year, you know, they're in their little cocoons.
Right.
And, you know, if transportation is an issue, I wonder if what Jericho just mentioned
Yep.
could help with getting the caregiver and the elderly individual out, because that may be a barrier.
That's right.
But I think the time, everything is perfect. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'd love to come and visit.
Oh. And I didn't see that Rachel was on.
You just got in while you were mid-presentation.
Oh,
Rachel,
okay.
do you have any comments you want to add before we go on to other questioning?
I don't, I apologize, I was late. But I will say I am also on the board of NCEA, and how to bring people out to attend even just social events or something like this was a big topic of conversation last night. And one thing we started talking about was maybe it's more of a buddy system. So I did hear Brian say, you know, there are other people here at Sherburne, and they only have to walk down the hall. There's not a, you know, vehicle. Some of them don't even have to deal with the cold weather. And so how to draw them out. We post everything, we share it in our newsletters and flyers and calendars. And so I think this is, we were trying to find a way on a small scale of how to address this challenge of pulling people out and getting them to come to something like this. And if we could be successful here, how do we bring it to the community? And so far, the only thing I've come up with is like a buddy system. So if you know people who are already part of the program, and you might know if they maybe know or have any kind of familiar relationship, even small one, of other clients who might be good for the program, how can we help them be willing to say, hey, we're participating in this and it's really great, maybe you should come with us next time. And that seems to be what we're having a little challenge with here is I could shove paperwork down and flyers and newsletters down everybody's throat, but until a friend or somebody calls and says, I'm going to go to this and I would be nice if you came with me, that's how we're seeing the numbers increase. But we got to help people, you know, make those initial phone calls. So I just wanted to comment in listening to Brian say, you know, I know Jennifer has reached out to me. How can we get even more people at Sherburne? And that's so far the only thing that I've come up with that isn't already being done. And how can we get something like that going as a more informal thing? So I would really, anybody that knows me knows part of my main reason for doing this memory cafe is because I have a lot of passion for it. And I really want to see this program continue to grow. And that would be really a great way to do that, is how we can get that to grow even now in the winter. And if you're successful in the winter months, I can see how it would soar in the summer months when we have a higher population or it's warmer, that more people would be willing to come out. And I apologize, I realize I'm looking at my screen, but my camera's over here. So I apologize if it looks like I'm not even paying attention to any of you on the screen.
You know, and a question for both of you, how about the senior center, our local senior center? Is there a lot of reach out there? Because I know some of those people end up being the caregivers for their partners at home.
Yep, put a flyer up, and again, it's changing your behavior.
Can you make a presentation at one of their Salt Marsh, you know,
Sure,
luncheons, or you know how they have guest speakers come in and talk about stuff?
sure.
Because this presentation, even though it was a bullet point presentation, Brian, you bring a life to it into your presentation. And I think that sometimes is so much better than a piece of paper than anybody gets, is like having somebody that has a compassion that's talking about it with somebody. So
Sure.
just an idea.
No. Jennifer wants to do that, and so we can go there. We are in their newsletter each month, but that's a great idea. Thank you.
I'm gonna.
I agree with, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Rachel.
Thank you. I completely agree with that as well, because even some of the people here, or even people that I know have been versed in what a memory cafe, are still asking, but really, what is it? Like, why would I want to go? And Brian does a very excellent job of describing that. And I think his own energy helps bring people to say, all right, maybe I'd be interested in that. I would love to find a way to tap into that energy and get that on a flyer, but that's obviously not possible unless we start some new age technology of digital flyers. But if anybody has an idea of how to do something along those lines, I would be more than happy. And the one thing that immediately popped into mind is, and Brian, if you're willing, if there is any way you could tap your presentation down into like a 20-30 second snapshot, maybe even less, I would be very happy to share it on social media and pass that around, because seeing it and hearing somebody say it versus just scrolling through a flyer might help engage people a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a good
Great.
idea. Very good idea. Okay, I'm gonna go on, and I think what I'll do is, since Linda has her hand up, we'll start with Linda's questioning and then work our way down on the board. Linda?
On the Council on Aging, and I think that you need to go to the Salt Marsh, but what about going to the doctor's offices or putting flyers up in the waiting room up there or in the front hall up there? And making sure everybody in the hospital knows, because they more than likely treat these people that generation that we're talking about. That's number one. Number two, I still miss the adult daycare. I know this is not a drop-off center, but many years ago, there was, for a brief period of time, an adult drop-off center. I think it was in that building next to the fields. And they had quite a few people there. So I think, it's great to have them come. And I'm all support of the Memory Cafe because it was an idea generated by the Council on Aging and Jericho's mom in particular some years ago, I think even before the pandemic. And
Yes.
I think we're missing the boat here, not having an adult daycare, because the caregivers, not only do they need, support from other caregivers in this type of thing, but they need to be separated from them sometimes so they have a mental break. Having dealt with this in my own family, they need a break. Otherwise, they'll go bonkers themselves it's overwhelming to care for someone at home. And I know you try to keep them at home as long as possible. That's one thing. I think once a month is too little, and only an hour and a half is too little, but I know the attention span and the ability to do that is short, but I wish it was more than once a month. So those are just my thoughts on this.
Thank you.
Okay, Bert? You're muted, Bert.
My suggestion would be also to become a speaker at one of the Rotary luncheons and let those people know of this service, so that you start to fill up your potential.
Great suggestion. Thank you.
John?
I guess I don't have much to say except that knowing my own age and proclivities, that the person-to-person suggestion is going to be the single most important way you'll ever get people to come. How you promote that it's difficult, although I think the idea of something that Rachel expressed, of putting your presentation into something that is visual and audible, will be extremely helpful in the absence of actually a person-to-person touch.
Great, thank you.
Sue?
I mostly want to thank you for making this program happen. It's really, really important, which you already know. So I appreciate that. And with my PassCon hat on, I know we have flyers in the PassCon offices, and we are definitely promoting this to our clientele. And I'm wondering if maybe Fairwinds and other mental health agencies would share it out when they send out information. Only because I like putting things in people's inboxes, even when it's just a static thing. It's at least keeping it in people's minds, and maybe they don't know they need that right now, but in mental health, it's kind of always that way. They're like, oh, we have that here, but you only recognize it when you think you need it. So the repetition is really important. And yeah, keep up the great work.
Thanks, Sue.
Joanna?
I don't think that I have any questions, and I just want to reiterate what I think pretty much everyone else has said. This is a great program. I support it. I think it's really important for the community. And, you know, if Mariah Mitchell Association can ever offer any support in terms of content, we would be happy to do so.
Thank you. That's a wonderful offer.
I think Joanna's running for office.
Right?
No, she is not.
Vote for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we might vote for you anyway.
So I have maybe one other, I don't know, the Dreamland and their public service announcements.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
if you did your little spiel into something as a public service announcement at the Dreamland, that might
Okay.
be very good. And what I would love to get from you and Rachel on a feedback is maybe how this program is affecting the people that are using it right now. Even though you only have a small number, maybe in your next quarterly report, we could add that just so we could see how that impact is.
Yep,
On the,
yep,
yeah, on the families.
will do. That's a great suggestion.
And that's all I have to say. I'm very excited that this, Rachel, I think I speak for a lot of people that we're very happy that Sherburne Commons offered that space for this program to actually get its feet on the ground and actually moving. I know that it has been something that you were passionate about for many years, so glad to see that you have a spot where you can actually run this program, and I know that that's huge because it's worth a lot more than $6,000.
Oh, yeah.
We all know that with the cost of things, so having a roof and, you know, an area that where people are consistent
Accessible.
that they can go, it's really, really important.
And it's
So.
beautiful space. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's beautiful space.
Yeah, and it seems that you both have a very good, Rachel, I'll get you in 1 second, a very good, working partnership going on. And I think that is, you know, also a testament to what this program means to the community. So, Rachel?
Yeah, I just want to, I think this is one of those programs that is almost hard to truly understand the impact. And I'll tell you why. And it's because you mentioned the space at Sherburne, and I'll say, Brian isn't going to be able to get a testimonial or information on this any more than I probably could. But I've had more than one resident who lives here come to me and say, hey, what's going on in that room? And even when I tell them, they say, you know, that's really great. And they wouldn't probably go to the program just based on my own understanding of them. But to them, they said, it makes me feel so good to hear other people laughing and the camaraderie and just have voices in the hallways again here. So in a way, us hosting things like this and knowing that that's what that program is other people are already saying, God, this makes me feel better to even just hear how successful this program is and how much fun they're having, even if they're not attending. So I just want to throw that out there as well. So if you have any other senior ideas or programs that you want to throw our way so that we can host them just to have people in the building, I think that's just, I just don't know how to measure them. And so I just wanted to throw it out there because there's people I think that are indirectly impacted by the program just by seeing other people gathering. It's almost like, what's that thing everybody says, the fear of missing out. And,
FOMO.
you know, it
FOMO.
just makes them, yeah, it just makes them, you know, it makes them feel good that there's a liveliness coming back, even to Sherburne, that even if they're not a part of it, given that COVID kind of closed everything down and it seemed like a desert around here for a while. So I hope this program really does continue to grow. And thank you all for your support and continuing to help that be possible.
Welcome, thank you. Thank you both for the work you do. Oh, constant. And I think, Rachel, I can send you some ideas, which I will.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Some of if the space is available, like the adult dance classes, could you hold it there? Because that would be something, you know, a line dancing class. It may bring life and people out and just watching and whatever. So
Oh, that's a good one. Dance. Did you hear that one, Rachel?
Mm-hmm.
Senior dancing.
Yeah,
Adult-
I'm telling you,
Well,
there's so
Rachel?
many of them that I say, just sit down and go in, even if you don't need to be a part of the
Right.
memory cafe. Just go sit in and participate.
No.
You don't have to have memory deficit to be there and understand it. And sometimes people just like to sit on the sidelines and watch what other people are doing. And
Definitely.
that's a human nature thing that we can tap into and how that helps improve their own in spirit. So line dancing, though, I'll tell you, I'd probably stop and watch for a while too if a bunch of people were okay with it. Entertainment is entertainment, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's an idea.
Great.
It's just an idea. Yeah, it's a great
Thank you.
idea.
That's a great idea.
It's a
No,
great
we,
idea.
we run it at 56 right now.
I know.
Down in
It's
Haddon Hall.
Always
on my
have
list to
space
do.
to fit stuff into a senior center schedule, time allowing. So if there's any programs or space you want to do there, just let me know.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you both very much.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thanks for the enthusiasm.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile deal.
Wonderful.
Bye, Rachel.
Bye.
Bye, Rachel. Thank
Hi,
you very much.
Rachel.
for coming.
Bye. Thank
And
you.
yeah, well,
Uh,
Jackie came in at 11.
Jackie Lane is here, from NAMI. Hi, Jackie,
Hi,
welcome.
thank you.
And, the process. I don't think there's anybody that's new, so I don't feel like I have to have anybody introduce themselves, and we'll go on to NAMI's presentation.
Okay. Well, we've sort of done this before with the same group prior, in the prior round. And obviously, I was invited or encouraged, I guess is the best word, to resubmit this to this group for this round of funding. And it did cause a bit of a dilemma for me. And I tried to work that out because, as you know, you've been very, very generous in funding our individual therapist compensation plan. And that has been highly successful. In fact, I've been homesick. And yesterday morning, I did the report, which is about a week overdue. And I think Jericho has it now. But there's several people that are receiving therapy, and a good percentage of them in person on a weekly basis that is subsidized. And it's pretty consistent. And there are 8 to 10 therapists involved in this program, and all but one of them actually reside on the island, and the one that doesn't used to reside and had 1 or 2 clients that she's carried over. So I do want to start by saying thank you very much for funding that program, and I really think that it's useful in many ways. And so what happened, I said, all right, so if I go for this funding for the youth initiative, which we are super excited about, and we actually have a program tomorrow night. I hope everyone comes out in the cold. Certainly, we've publicized it all over the place. And that's the first of a series of 4, which is part of the youth initiative, which is part of the funding that is coming from the town from this last group of funding. And then it's a series of 4, and we end with Dr. Stuart Ablum, who is so famous and so special. And that funding is coming. We've tied that in with funding from the foundation. So we're trying to put the fundings that we get together. So what I did was I did the analysis of, because I've asked the therapists to do a report every month when they send in their bills. And I asked for the number of clients they have that are 21 or under, the number of clients that are single parents, and the number of clients that are family counseling. And of course, all that very much impacts youth. So it's about 65% of this is family or youth impacted counseling. So what I did was took the amount of money pretty much that would be spent on that out of the other grant and added it on to this one. And that's why I came up with the gigantic figure of 175,000, trying to preserve at least the youth and family part of the other program. Then as far as the rest of that program, we've always had to subsidize it anyway, because you've given us roughly 100,000 every year for it, and it usually ends up being more like 130 or 40,000. And we've always supplemented the end of it with our own funding, which is different this year because we're not going to have Dragonfly funding, which was significant for us. And also we had to cancel, we do funding out of our own budget here too for Nantucket whenever we need to. And we did have to cancel our golf event last year because it was just absolutely pouring rain. And we already had quite a bit of money in, but that night we usually bring in at least an extra $100,000. So we're minus that. So things are a little tight, but I have a meeting tomorrow with somebody that's going to really, we're looking at federal grants, and we're looking at a Blue Cross Blue Shield grant. We're looking at grants that I could use for all 3 counties because we deal with Barnstable, Dukes, and Nantucket counties. And some of the grants I get on the Cape, it's a little touchy using them for Nantucket stuff because they're really Barnstable County grants. But I'm looking for grants that would cover, and especially for the youth initiative. So the pieces of the youth initiative, I'm still have the same people involved. I've still talked to Chris Vios about keeping, she's still a partner. We have a signed MOU, and the same thing with Sharing Kindness with Kim Mead Walters. So they would still be part of the program. And of course, we still have our partnership with ASAP. So the program that I'm presenting hasn't really changed from what we talked about before.
Jackie, can I just interject for 1 second? Is there any way you can turn up the volume on your side? We've tried turning the volume up on our side. We're having a little bit of difficulty hearing you, and I'm sorry, everybody, to interrupt her, but
Yeah, I don't.
I've got this cranked up and TV cranked up.
yeah, we're cranked to the top. I don't know if your volume is lower.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on my computer, of course.
It might just be the mic.
Yeah, it could just be your mic. Okay,
Yeah.
we're sorry. We
Well,
just saw.
I'll go
That's
closer. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah,
All right,
much
then I'm
better.
putting the computer up in my face. How's that?
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, so that's kind of where we stand with this. As I said, we're going on with this youth initiative, and we've started some focus groups of kids here on the Cape. In fact, we have one coming in tonight. And I'm tying in other grants that would support it. So I'm kind of piecing it all together. I honestly believe that it's one of the most important things we could do right now, talking to the schools. I have a daughter that's in the schools teaching, and the kids are really, they missed a lot of social emotional development when we had the lockdown, and it's going to take a long time to catch up. And that's one of the things that Ken Duckworth is going to talk to tonight, because he's been going around the country because he wrote this book. And he's going to kind of give a review of what's going on and what we need to do. And that's what this whole thing is addressing. And we're committed to it as a priority for at least 3 years and possibly 5 years. And it's going to take that long. I think it's especially important for Nantucket. Nantucket has extra issues, as we all know, at different times because of isolation and things like that. And I also think Nantucket is very interesting because it's an entity of its own, and it's a really great place to test things and to try to change things, even though sometimes there's resistance to change in a more isolated area, but still it's easier to have impact and to change. What we're trying to do is actually change the mindset. We're trying to change the whole attitude about how young people are growing and developing from both a social and a physical point of view. And I will say that, as I said, tonight's program is basically normalize the conversation. Let's get it out there. Talk about it like it's any other thing. And then the second one is going to be about ACEs, which is early childhood trauma and brain development during ACEs. And for the younger kids, the third one is going to be about the changes in adolescence in brain development at that stage of, and then we're having Stuart Ablum, who is the expert on school discipline and the new ways of school discipline and collaborative problem solving, the new ways of dealing with kids and so on. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. And the programming that we have in the grant really addresses three very large issues that we consider are some of the major issues as far as kids. And one of them is substance misuse and abuse. One of them is social media. And the other one is depression, suicide ideation, and possibly leading to suicide. So with our partners, I figure we are really have the bandwidth here to cover the biggest problems. So depending on funding and what else I can get, we will have to kind of pick and choose. But my feeling is we're trying to change the paradigm. We're trying to change how people feel about mental health and how it relates to kids and their development and their lives. So, I mean, I'm looking at root causes rather than Band-Aids. That's one of the things that NAMI, after we took it over, has kind of, NAMI was always what I called a reactive organization. We have support groups. We have family to family. Our programming is all, that programming is all what I call reactive programming. It's after there's a crisis. Then what we did is thought, well, if we start doing community education, that hopefully we can get in before the crisis and prevent the crisis. And that's where we're out with this program, as well as offering support, but we're trying to get into root causes. And I think that's where everybody has to go. And I think you would find that if you start reading the powers that be in the industry, that they're all talking about, we have to change a lot of things. We have to change our thinking. That's a big order. It's not easy to do, but I think it's got to be done. And I think Nantucket has come a long ways in the last 4 or 5 years. I think, you know, we did, and that was through, basically that was through the CHIP money that we did an awful lot of marketing on the value of mental health. And mental health is health. It's just like any other kind of health. You know, your brain is the most important organ in your body, really, because it controls everything, involuntary and voluntarily. So I think the fact that we really concentrate on brain health and bring that conversation out and try to change the mindset is huge, and back it up with the programming that is preventative as well as programming that is supportive. So I think I've told you why the number is what it is, what I included from our other program, and tried to incorporate it into this whole project. So, questions?
Yeah, I just want to make a clarification of something that you stated a minute ago. I think that your seminar is actually tomorrow night. Am I correct?
Yes,
Not
it is.
tonight?
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is. That's how my life has
Okay.
been the last
I
couple of
just
weeks.
wanted everybody to know that it's tomorrow night,
Right.
not tonight.
Yes, it is tomorrow night at the high school. And I think they're going to have some, I won't be there. Unfortunately, there is no way I can go out at night right now. Or go to Nantucket and maybe get stuck there.
Yeah.
I was
Vintage.
identifying with what the people before me were saying about caretakers and so on, because I'm in that position.
Just
right
calling
now.
in right now.
Okay.
What's that?
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna let, we'll start, with Sue.
We have a phone.
Yeah, that's Linda Williams.
Linda is coming in on phone.
Sorry, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, no. Sue, you are muted if you were talking.
Thank you. It was my turn to do that. I guess my only question is, one of the things you wrote in your application is that you hope to have 100 attendees at these community forums, which I hope you have 300 people at community forums. But knowing Nantucket in the winter,
I know. Especially tonight or tomorrow night, which is supposed to be wet and snow. I don't
right?
know. I know
So,
the weather is an issue. I'm hoping at least for Stuart, we get it. That's in April.
okay, yeah, that's great to know that he's coming.
Yeah,
in
he's going to
April.
be the last one. He's coming in April. It's all booked.
Awesome. Yeah. So I just wanted to know if that was, a little aspirational.
Yes, it is aspirational, but then my life is aspirational, I think, right now. No, I have the philosophy you go for the top, and if you go for the stars, and if you get 3/4 of the way there, you just keep striving, but you've done well.
Right. No, I think it's important to keep having programs and, planning to gain interest as you go along. So
That's true. Things build. I mean, I've said that in special events, which I've run forever, that people are disappointed. They have a big special event and they don't get the crowd they want to raise the money. I said, well, even the IRS gives you 3 years to make money in a business. I mean, you have to build.
right. Okay. I appreciate all the effort you put into Nantucket. I know personally how much effort you do put in. So thank you.
Oh, it's a thing of mine. It really is.
And that's all.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Joanna?
I'm delivering something.
Hi, I've got, I'm just in a meeting. You can just leave that right there. Thanks, sorry. Okay, so I have a couple questions.
Yeah, I
One
can call
is
back later. They're
these
calling on me.
presentations,
Bird, you gotta mute.
are they available on Zoom or YouTube? Or are they being recorded? Like, how, because I'm concerned about your attendance as well.
We can record them. They are not available on Zoom. We're trying very hard to move as much into live as we can.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a mixed bag. Zoom is good in a lot of ways, but sometimes I think we've gotten a bit lazy, and person to person is really where communication takes place.
I agree, but I'm a little concerned about accessibility for some of the populations here on Nantucket. And being able to watch this even somewhat privately in their own home could be good for them. So.
Well, we can definitely, we've talked about recording it, and we can do that and then make it available.
Yeah, or have you, what about NCTV? Have you spoken to them about being able to come? I mean, I just think these are good speakers, and I think I think that the audience needs to be as wide as we can possibly get.
That's true. Well, we certainly, I think that Stuart Ablom, we certainly could speak to the NCTV. I think that would be an excellent idea, and thank you for that idea.
Okay. My other question really is on the I'm going to say the word I wrote down, overlap in communication, but also collaboration. Like, and what is the relationship with Fairwinds? Because it seems that some of this is also in their wheelhouse. And I just want to make sure that is there a referral, right? Or are you just funneling people into your own counseling services? Like, how does that relationship work?
I call Amanda a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, because basically they do a lot of things. There's a big difference between us and Fairwinds, even though we both do some of the same things. We are not clinicians. Fairwinds, they're the clinicians.
Yeah.
And an awful lot of things require clinical. And we do definitely refer to Fairwinds. And I've called Amanda many times about different clients, and we tend to do the more non-clinical part of it, and we definitely refer. And basically, we've actually, when Mike, what's his name? Was it Kellerman? Was there as a temp, we did some collaboration. And then Jason and I had talked about collaboration at different times, but definitely I am in touch with Amanda.
Okay. And how many people what is your reach here? Like, how many people do you feel like you're affecting with this work? Are you tracking this?
Well, we track it as best we can. Anytime that we have a program, of course, that's easy. You have numbers, but we do get support calls from Nantucket directly to here. I do have clients in Nantucket that I've personally helped with people getting services. I think considering that we're not on the island, I think we have a pretty good following on the island. I really do. Those things are hard to, I mean, I could sit down and probably write up some numbers and so on. But yeah, I think we have quite a lot of traction on Nantucket. I think we have better traction on Nantucket actually than we do on the Vineyard.
It would be great to see some numbers, I think. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but I think it would be great to see at least an attempt at you quantifying some of this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And of course, a lot of, yeah, I can quantify some of it. A lot of it has been messaging. I say messaging rather than marketing or advertising because it is messaging. You're getting out a message, and marketing sounds like you're selling something. But we certainly, I think, have done an awful lot to open up the whole idea of mental health on Nantucket as being something that has to be dealt with and talked about, and it's normalizing. We have also been instrumental in sending other people to Nantucket. I did bring DMH to Nantucket. I know they're going to be there again, but I was the one that actually went on the ferry with them and brought them to Nantucket, and they had a tour of the island, and they had a meeting at the foundation. I sent Kim Mead Walters to Nantucket. So, you know, I think that.
But I think that, you know, one of the ways to support your arguments, right, or your premises is to be able to say, you know, here's our engagement via social media. Here's how it grew in the last year. Here's the number of email blasts that we sent out. Here's the open rate, right? So that you can really look at the impact that you're having and be able to share that feedback.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Bert, any questions? Okay.
Good to go.
Bert?
No questions.
Okay, John?
No questions.
Linda? Linda?
Ask her to unmute.
Linda?
No questions. No questions.
Okay, thank you. Jackie, I have a couple of questions real quick. The Think Kids program, if you don't get funding for this, is there any way to get it into the school?
It's possible. I'm looking at a Tower grant, and Tower covers all 3 of my counties. I'm also looking at some other grants that I could get money, because the Vineyard is trying to do Think Kids in one of their, I think it's a charter school. And so I am definitely looking for funding. It wouldn't, Think Kids is terribly expensive. All I can get out of this grant, I think, is I could get, see, Think Kids also has a parent component. And I had already talked to Stuart about purchasing so many slots in the parent program. And so Nantucket parents would be open to that. But to actually put the whole program in the school, it's like a 3-year job, and it is extremely expensive, and it would take a major grant, and I am working toward that. But in the meantime, I'm introducing collaborative problem solving and Stuart to the community. And then, as I said, I think that we can get some of the parent programming, which is less expensive. But when I did Think Kids, which was way before COVID, I did 3 school districts on the Cape and the whole program, and it cost us $160,000,
Wow.
which we funded.
Okay. Next question, your focus groups, for preteens, who will run those programs, those kind of programs?
For preteens, it's going to depend on the program. We would obviously be collaborating. There are people on the island that I think that we can collaborate with. And also, we are developing a whole group of people. And actually, we did have one of our people that work with us from the island, Elise Norton, attended this. It was kind of a launch. I had 30 some people there where I presented this program. And we have a big group of people that have signed up to support this program and to be a part of it. So we do have a lot of resources out there that are excited about this. And it's again a challenge to bring them to Nantucket, but I think it can be done in addition to working with people on the island. I'm very interested in working with our house and of course the Boys and Girls Club, the organizations that you do have there, and incorporating mental health oriented programming into what they do.
Okay, and your natural world programming, how do you project staffing that kind of program?
My what? I didn't.
The natural world programming?
Natural world?
Yeah, it's inside your.
That one.
It's inside.
Oh, you mean the relationship between
You
being
have one here, it says the programs that feature the natural world, such
Yes,
as hiking,
yes.
fishing, gathering animals, and camping, connecting with kids.
Again, a lot of that would be what summer programming now, but way back, I remember Jericho was part of this when we did that first committee. We talked about touch points and we went through all the different touch points that kids hit. And one of them, of course, was summer camps, that type of stuff. And again, that would be, I know you have an animal shelter on the island. It's actually, I used it once when I had an animal on the island. And it would be, again, collaboration. This whole thing is a community collaboration. It really is. It's a community project. And I think I have emphasized that. And what you do is what I did on the Cape. And I'd love to come to Nantucket and do the very same thing where you have a meeting, an open house type meeting, and invite somebody from all the different organizations and present what you're trying to do. And then you have to ask them, how many of you want to be a part of it, at what level? And that's what I did here on the Cape. And that's where you get the people to do that kind of thing.
Okay, I have a couple more and I just have to, sorry, but I'm gonna ask them, guys, because I want to better understand this. In the activities that you're looking for, what are you looking at running in your screen-free week? That's a real challenge. I mean, how would you run, do you have ideas on how you would do that?
Well, there is a whole program. There's
Okay.
a whole program for Screen-Free Week, and Chris is much more into that than I am. That's her specialty. But there is a set program. A lot of these things we're drawing from national programs and so on.
Okay, that's good to know. In your program on fostering understand the mitigation of stigma, which you talk about being able to pull in caregivers and coaches, how do you plan on getting them to buy into that?
That's a
Because
tough
that's the
one.
big thing.
That's changing the paradigm. It's changing how people think. It's normalizing the conversation. And that's what we're starting out with this series that we're doing this winter, is trying to get people to think of mental health as just a normal thing. And that's going to be part of Ken Duckworth's theme, is normalize the conversation, start the conversation, open it up. There should be no stigma about brain health. And you just have to keep saying it and, gradually getting people to feel comfortable talking about it. That's changing a paradigm, and it's hard. But I still think we've come a ways. positive.
I have two more questions. How have you touched upon in your report that you've been extremely successful in reaching the Brazilian community.
Mhm.
How did you find that happened? What was the technique that got them in?
I had a Brazilian intern who was in
Ah,
college, and
okay.
she was brought up on the Cape, her 3 generations. And I told her one of her assignments was to put together a focus group of her parents and grandmother's friends and bring them in. And she did that. And we had a conversation, and it all ended up with the churches. There are a lot of Brazilian churches on the Cape. And then we had also, she recommended a licensed Brazilian social worker, clinician. And so her name is Rafaela Almeida, and she helped us put together programming in Portuguese based on our regular NAMI programming, because NAMI itself could not do anything fast. I mean, it would take years to get it into Portuguese. So we adapted it into Portuguese, and it was advertised through the churches. She was hired, I pay her because she is bilingual, and she runs 4 different classes. One is in children in school, and to try to help Brazilian parents understand the American school system and so on. One is just general mental health. One is more marriage and family type stuff. And then she runs support groups in addition to the classes. And we spend about $30,000 a year on that programming. That's how
Okay.
it's highly successful. And that's how we got it. It was basically the priest endorsed it, for one thing.
Okay, and then my last question is, maybe as a buy-in, these symposiums, are they being offered as continuing education to the various schools and henceforth, and within the community, which will enable them to get the continuing ed credits? Some of these symposiums that you're doing?
Well, as we do symposiums, we would have to apply for that credit. And that's definitely a lot of what we're doing, we're trying to make it open to the community, but once you get involved with the schools and the professionals, then the whole credit thing does become an issue. And
I'm just
we
wondering
were
if it could be
able-
offered on both levels, to the public and to
No.
teachers as a continuing education credit, or even counselors as
Well,
continuing ed.
I'm on a
Everybody-
committee for Barnstable County, and we do programs for school counselors, and we were able to get all those programs so they could get credit for them in their step.
Yes, so
Mhm.
this might be good on these symposiums, that maybe happens and then becomes a buy-in to some of the
It is a good
programming that
buy-in.
you're doing. Yeah, so just an idea.
Great.
Okay, I think, Jackie, we've extended our time a little bit, and Safe Place Jennifer has been very patient with us, which I appreciate a great deal. Thank you for your time, Jackie. Thanks for all the effort that you do and all the work that you do on NAMI on behalf of everybody in the community and the Cape and Islands. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us. There is nobody new on the board that you don't know, so I'm just going to allow you to go ahead and introduce yourself, the organization you're here with, and do your presentation for us.
All right. Well, thank you all. Good morning, almost afternoon. Thank you for having me here yet again in reviewing a Safe Places grant. Our proposal is for $55,000. I believe, because you all know me, I think, in a safe place, I think you're well aware that a safe place is the local domestic violence or rape crisis center on Nantucket. For several years anyway, we've been serving well over 300 individuals a year, survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. That number has been rising every year since COVID here at a Safe Place, and that's true across the board at other domestic violence and rape crisis centers across the state. So the proposal you have before you this year is really in regards to 3 different collaborative programs or projects that we want to run. So the first program or project is our collaborative work with the Nantucket Police Department and the Nantucket Cottage Hospital. So for that, we're requesting a total of $30,000. So this would allow us to continue to work collaboratively with the hospital and the police department to provide our emergency services. And when I say our emergency services, that would include our 24-hour crisis hotline that's available for anyone impacted by domestic violence and sexual assault. It's also available to the police department and to the hospital so that when they have people respond in the aftermath of domestic violence or sexual assault, they can then contact us and we can respond to those locations to provide the victims with support. So this grant would allow us to be able to respond 24 hours a day to the police department. At the police department, we're really there supporting victims who are safety planning, who are reporting crimes, and probably most importantly, although they're all important, filing for emergency restraining orders and or harassment prevention orders. This grant would also allow us to continue to provide 24-hour advocacy at the emergency room. And so when we're called to the emergency room, that's to support victims who obviously have had some kind of medical issue, need medical assistance, and or a SANE exam, or what's usually referred to by others as a rape kit. So our trained rape crisis counselors or advocates would respond to support victims or survivors in those locations. It would also allow us to continue to provide court advocacy at every session of district court. In those cases, it's usually to help a victim who is either applying for or extending emergency restraining orders. Or ongoing, more long-standing restraining orders or harassment prevention orders. And then this grant would also allow us through these emergency services to provide ongoing crisis services. So providing things like supportive counseling and trauma therapy to these individuals that we have provided these other emergency services to. So that kind of summarizes our emergency services. The second part of this grant proposal is to allow us to collaborate with the police department, removing the hospital from this portion of it. We're requesting $5,000 in this area, and this is to run what we call the Beacon Project. And the Beacon Project really allows a safe place to intervene earlier on in cycles of abuse. So kind of like the procedure of the Beacon Project, for every domestic disturbance call out that the police respond to, they are identifying a victim and handing that victim a Beacon packet, an envelope that has information in it. That includes a letter that's signed by the chief of police and myself as the executive director of a safe place. It includes information on how the victim could reach a safe place, contact a safe place, and other local community resources as well. Going further on that, the officer who responds to that call out then also places a call to a safe place to leave some basic information regarding that call out to a safe place, most notably like the date, the time, and the case number. And a safe place advocate then reaches out to the records department at the police department, and we're given more detailed information. The identified victim, their contact information, and any important circumstances regarding that domestic disturbance that we should be aware of. Our safe place advocate then calls every identified victim to offer free and confidential services. Again, with the goal of trying to intervene earlier on in the cycle of abuse and let these victims or survivors know that help is available. Then the third program or project that our grant is requesting funding for is to work with a program called, it's an off-island organization by the name of Source Hub. We're requesting $20,000 in this area. Source Hub, although they're located off island, they're willing to work with us, and it's an organization that really focuses on educating and supporting immigrants, providing them with information, resources, really trying to empower them to lead self-reliant lives. So through this project, A Safe Place would then provide more enhanced culturally and linguistically specific services to underserved populations here on Nantucket. So this collaborative work with Source Hub, first and foremost, would start with ongoing meetings and trainings with Source Hub on a regular basis for our entire staff team, so that we could learn more about the issues impacting the immigrants on Nantucket, on the Cape, across the state, and identify in ways that we may not even know, like what is preventing them from reaching out for our services, and then trying to address those barriers. Together, A Safe Place and Source Hub would be looking to conduct ongoing outreach in the community that really targets the immigrant communities on Nantucket. That really has a goal of building trust for our name, and then trying to minimize fear so that when people need our services, they're able to reach out. A Safe Place and Source Hub would be looking to host 2 large-scale and free outreach events to the community. And these would really be for everyone in the community, but with specialized resources or services that would hopefully draw in the immigrant community. And then we're also looking through this grant to update our website so that it's more inclusive and welcoming to marginalized communities that we're working with. And also we would continue to recruit and then maintain bilingual staff, which is very important to us here at A Safe Place. So those are the 3 kind of areas or scopes that are part of this grant. I would just say, A Safe Place has a long history of, I think, providing reputable services. I believe life-changing services. We receive very regularly client surveys that give us very positive feedback regarding the services and how helpful and life-changing they've been. So I am a strong advocate of our services and hope that you would support us. So I would open it up to any questions.
Okay, I'm going to start with Joanna. No questions. Bert.
Have your demographics changed much? I know last year the Hispanic numbers were increasing. Is that still going on?
Yeah, we excuse me. So we serve about 25 to 30% of the total number that we serve are Spanish speaking. So that number is a large amount. What we have seen, we do identify that the Portuguese speaking community is still underserved through us. That is something we're actively working on. But a number of years ago, we did hire a Portuguese speaking advocate. And since then, our numbers have grown a lot in the number of people that we're serving that speak Portuguese.
Thank you.
Okay, Sue?
Hi, Jennifer. It's good to see you.
So,
I think I love all these projects. I know they're all super, super important. And I think my only comment, and it's not a negative comment at all, is I would love it if you shared more of the survey data. just to kind of get a more feel for what your clients are saying that they liked and what else they might need.
Yeah.
Would love to see that. But I love seeing that 100% of respondents say they were treated courteously, respectfully, and, understood all their rights as a client. So yeah, just keep up the good work. This is awesome.
Thank you. And I can certainly share, if you're interested, some of that feedback from clients too. We collect it in a very anonymous way.
Of course.
So we're able to report back on what people have reported to us, so.
Jennifer, feel free to pass that on to Jericho and he can pass it out to everybody on the board. That'd be great.
Okay, perfect.
John?
In addition to the Spanish and Portuguese communities, do you have much call from, let's say, the Bulgarian community, or I don't know, the Asiatic community? Do they show up on your screen at all? Or?
So we serve definitely Bulgarian, although we find that they speak English. So we haven't had to necessarily access interpreters for that language because we have found that they speak English. But yep, they definitely come in. We do serve a large number too of Caribbean islanders. That is behind Spanish speaking. My guess is the next group would be Caribbean islanders.
So, and that is, do you have somebody who speaks that colloquial language?
So we find that they all speak English as well, although one of our staff members is originally from the Bahamas herself. So I don't think there would be a lot of language difficulty.
Right. Yeah. I'm just kind of curious because you're right that I would have guessed that the Asiatic and the Bulgarians and even the Islanders, English is more, comes more easily to them than to the Hispanic people.
Yes.
And the Portuguese.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Whether it comes easier or they learn it in their home countries as part of their education or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Linda?
You know how much I support this program. This place is one of the original 17 who started it. But I'm just so enthralled with the fact that you're expanding and adding these new programs and, adapting to the times and the needs of as the island changes and I'm really, really happy hearing about all these great programs. It's just phenomenal to me. I know over the last several years during the pandemic in particular, we've asked you because people were cooped up together, the tensions were great, that the numbers increased. Have you seen the numbers leveling off this year from the last year when, the pandemic sort of opened up, everybody was out and about. Now it's coming back again, but have you seen the numbers sort of stabilized?
So thus far, it'll be interesting at the end of this fiscal year. Thus far this year, I would say that they're about level to last year. So they're leveling out at that higher rate. Now, I will be honest that I truly believe in my heart that the numbers rising during COVID were directly related to people being trapped inside their homes with their abusers. However, in recent years, we have put a lot more funding into advertising and outreach in the community. So it's hard to determine, is it because of that? Because we are being more diligent with our outreach and trying to think of creative ways to reach people. Maybe more people are seeing that advertisement, that outreach, and then realizing that services are available.
That's great. Now, a couple more questions. I'm glad to see that you're trying to make inroads into the Portuguese because I was part of that sort of underground immigration group that had pro bono attorneys and everything else. through the Unitarian Church.
Yeah.
And we were told at that time that some of the biggest abuses are occurring unreported in the Brazilian population. Now, my son lived in Brazil for 6 months and, he was hearing that stuff as well. And I think that's really something you have to push. You just got to get through the church. You got to get it somehow because there's a lot of indentured servitude going on with this group, and there's a lot of abuse and a lot of threats and a lot of immigration threats, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that particular group is really under siege. So I'm glad that you're trying to reach out to them. It's a very difficult group to get into. It's a very insular group, unlike the Hispanic groups. It's very insulated. Do you see a rise in men seeking your services? What's that population like? They're usually the ones that say nothing.
I know, yeah. I haven't run that number. If I had to just guess, we certainly serve men. It's a much smaller percentage. I would say, it's probably, if I just had to throw out a number, it's probably 5% or so of the number that we serve. I don't know that it's been on the rise. But I feel like it's kind of just steady in that area. But we definitely do serve men here as well. And we do try to make that known whenever we do any kind of presentations, outreach, education, things like that. We're really trying to spread that message.
Well, that's good because a lot of times we found when we first started this safe place that men were just not going to say anything. And the abuse goes both ways. It's not always man against woman, it's woman against man, and they're going to say nothing. So I see a lot more of that going on than is reported by anybody because it's embarrassment and there's a whole bunch of, stigmatization involved with that. Well, I'm glad you're moving on. And I just think I think personally speaking, I think we get the biggest bang for our buck with your organization of any organization on Nantucket. I just adore it.
Oh, thank you, Linda.
Okay, Veronica, presentation was excellent. You gave a lot more information than what was on paper, so thank you. And also thank you for doing outreach with Source Hub, because I think that's a fabulous organization and offering it to the greater community is something that we are also looking for. And I look at that as a collaboration in a different way. So thank you.
Thank you.
With it? Yeah. Oh, okay, I have a couple of questions. Always, sorry.
That's okay. Ask away.
How many times does the beacon, your beacon call end up with success in getting somebody into the early intervention or education or any form of service?
It's so hard to track because oftentimes the first time it doesn't. So that first beacon call, oftentimes the person receives the information and declines it. But oftentimes it might be the second or the third or the fourth or whatever it is. But it's hard to measure because once they reach out for services, you don't know how much longer it would have gone after that. Could it have been another year, 2 years or so of them being in that situation before they reached out? Quite possibly. So it's a really difficult thing to measure. But the first time it doesn't generally happen, or sometimes they'll come in just to receive the information and say, I have it. I'm going to kind of hold on to it in my brain. I don't think I need services now. But a lot of times you end up seeing them again or talking to them again down the road.
Okay. I think, what are the outreach programs you will be working with the Source Hub? Can you give us a little bit?
Yeah, so a lot of it is to be determined, but we did fairly recently start working with them because we did receive a small amount of funding from the Department of Public Health to work with them. And so at the end of August, we did, and I'm trying to think if I saw any of you there. I'm not sure if I did. We did host a back to school resource fair. So I would imagine it would be similar to that, like different kinds of, whether it's a back to school resource fair or a job fair or just a community resources fair, kind of along those lines, we would be looking to host those and then bring in other groups, both from on island and off island. At that back to school resource fair, it was really targeted for like people that would have children returning to school, but it was open up to the greater audience, the greater community. And we also really tried to bring in groups from off island that would draw in the immigrant community or populations.
Okay. And then my last question, because you answered some of the others, your grant notes the Massachusetts Department of Public Health's Community Impact Survey after COVID-19, as well as the 2019 Massachusetts Youth Risk Behavior Survey for
Yep.
statistics. Are you able to give us statistics as to where these two state studies can be reflected in our community?
I don't know that I understand that.
So you discussed two surveys conducted by the state of Massachusetts.
Yes.
In these two studies, there are two a little bit different studies. One is the impact of COVID-19, and then you had the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Looking at those numbers in that, can you tell us, looking at that, what those statistics look like for our community? Because that gave us a statewide statistic, but not what the local statistics would
Yeah.
be. Any way you can get that information?
Yeah, let me look into that.
Okay.
I know I included the surveys, but I don't have them memorized off the top of my head. So let me look at the surveys and the data and see if there's a way to extract local information.
Yeah, it would just be, it would be good to know in the, out of that percentage where we actually
Yeah,
fall.
I'm not sure. I'll be honest, I'm not sure if it's possible because I think when they collected it, it was statewide, and I don't think they broke them down by county or towns, but I'll certainly look into it and see.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
And you talked about rise or decline. You had 283 survivors that you're working with. And I'm sorry, I didn't have time to go back over the last couple of years. And we hit upon it a little bit, but are you seeing that those, that this is like, what steady incline or decline you're having in this number?
Yeah, so the 283, so last year in fiscal year 23, we served 337. The 283 number are the ones that were served through our emergency services. So that removes some of the other people that we provided services to that were not emergency services. So in terms of, I don't have an exact percentage, I could definitely run the numbers, but again, like since COVID, we have been seeing an increase year over year over year. I haven't run the exact, well, I probably have run it, but I don't know it right now at this time, what that exact number is.
And because I don't have the quarterly report in front of me for this term, I'm just wondering if you could tell me how many clients you've served so far this year. Do you know that, Jen?
If you gave me 1 minute, I don't know if you want to wait for me to look it up or not. I could always follow up and provide it.
Yeah, could you just follow up and provide it?
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? Jennifer, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Again, I think we all have spoken eloquently. Everybody has about your program and what it means to the community. We thank you very much for the continued effort and the leadership that you bring to the Safe Place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, and Julie Kehoe is back on again.
Just as a point of information, they logged in and then they wanted to make sure they.
Yeah, we saw that. Yep, thank you. And they're not here. They just
Where did they go?
I don't know.
Just a second ago. I will text her again.
Yeah, we're gonna take a water break here for a second. I'll give.
I'm gonna finish.
Guys, I'm gonna have to jump off.
Okay,
There's still a quorum, yeah.
where we still have a quorum. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Joanna.
And then we also have a hard stop at quarter of.
Correct, 10 of, because we have somebody else.
Other one, CPC, I think. No, what is it? I forgot what it is.
No, it's not CPC. That was, we're done.
Oh, here's Julie
Unless it's,
again.
unless it's one another organization.
No, it was,
I believe
this is
ZBA
what
or
we have here.
somebody else's today.
Yeah, ZBA, I think. I can't remember which one it is, but this Zoom account will be in use, and I believe this room will also be.
Right back.
Julia, we're taking a quick water bio break, let's call it.
Have you all gotten any warmer in there?
I don't feel a difference. Yeah.
I just got that quick shot of Heather in her hat and I'm concerned for your welfare.
Julia, I have your hand up. Can I help? What do you need?
Slip of the mouse, maybe.
It happens. You're gonna reconvene in a moment.
There it goes. I was having technical difficulties, so I thought I was muted, but there I go. Hi, everyone.
Hi there.
Pat, how are you?
Good. We're taking a short break.
Oh, good.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you. People are just taking a restroom break, sorry.
Oh, that sounds good. How's the weather there? Is it freezing?
It's freezing cold. As you notice, some of us are still in winter jackets. We have hats on.
Hats,
Um,
gloves.
I'm so cold, I want to put my jackets on, but I freeze to death, so I literally have to keep them off. It's really cold.
That trailer is not well insulated.
Thought it was, but.
Okay.
Oh, we can start. We're all here. Oh, no, Bert's on here. We have to wait for Bert. Sorry. No, I'm gonna go with this. Thank you, Beth. Those you can eat like candy, right? It's a little games, I know.
I think my colleagues are trying to get in. I don't know if you can.
Okay, well,
see them.
we have Jericho's walking back in the room now and he'll.
Oh,
go here.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Admit all.
I don't know where Bert is, but I think we'll,
Oh, yeah.
There he is.
Yeah. Okay. Julia, welcome. What I need you to do is for everybody that's with you to say their names and the association you're with, and then we'll have them do your presentation.
All right. Thank you so much. I am here. Oh, I have an echo. So can you hear me now? Is it better?
You're good.
Okay, great.
Yep.
I'm Julia Keogh. I'm the CEO of Health Imperatives, and I'm thrilled to be here with my colleagues, Kelly Hicks and Karen Latimer. Kelly?
Hi, I'm Kelly Hicks, and I'm the Director of Maternal and Child Health Services for Health Imperatives.
Karen?
Karen, you on there?
Karen could be having the same problems I had initially, which is trying to figure out how to unmute and get the camera off. So Karen is in charge of all of our sexual and reproductive health care for Nantucket and the Cape and Martha's Vineyard.
Okay, great. So we'll have you do your presentation.
Absolutely. So thank you again for all of your support over this last year and all of the previous years. I think every year that we come and do our presentation, I think about, all of the different challenges and how we never would have met them without the town support and how just extraordinary your support is. And I believe it was last year that we mentioned that this Nantucket model, which allows us to really provide significant services in both sexual and reproductive health care, and also the WIC Nutrition Assistance Program, is really not only transformative, but so unique in not only Massachusetts, but across the country. And as a result, we've been able to initially really increase access for a number of a significant percentage of people on island. And now we're at the point of really continuing to provide services and keep up with the demand and the increasing costs. And I think what we're seeing now in our proposal for this year, we're requesting $182,104. We're anticipating a slight increase up from 1,041 people served in the last fiscal year to 1,150 served in this year, so that we can not only provide services to more people, but equally important is to serve people more effectively or address the needs that we're seeing that are as yet unmet. So we talked last year about how we've increased services in this year and in the previous year, a lot around addiction, harm reduction, medication abortion access, previously in large part because of Nantucket, gender affirming care for adolescents, and previous to that, the LOOP or the LEAP procedure for cancer biopsy, and what a huge difference that made for the lives of the people on island, whether they're large numbers or small. In many cases, these services were life-saving. Now what we're seeing and proposing in the coming year is not only to continue to be able to increase access to our services to a growing population of people who cannot meet their basic needs or get health care anywhere else, but also address some of the health disparities we're seeing. And on the WIC side, we're seeing a real increase in childhood obesity, especially in children between the ages of 2 to 5, and particularly in the Latinx communities. And so we want to build on a lot of the really terrific partnerships that we have on Nantucket in order to address this. And again, I think the partnership with the town has really allowed us from several years ago when we had limited partnerships with people on island, in large part because of the lack of local staffing and regular hours, but to really sort of comprehensively address these needs through nutrition and new activities. But I think it's equally important that we continue to acknowledge that we are raising additional funds and advocating at the state for adequate funding for both sexual and reproductive health care and the WIC nutrition program, which are fundamentally level funded. And I was really thrilled last night to be at, hearing the governor's State of the State address, in which she addressed really fundamentally for most of the speech, the fact that so many people in Massachusetts can't meet their basic needs, and the housing crisis and the issues around food insecurity and people not being able to cover the cost of utilities, and all that they're doing for working families and helping people. But the reality is that the migrant crisis has put a huge strain on the budget. Revenues aren't what they thought. So we are hopeful that because the governor is so committed to providing services for people in need and making sure that working people can meet their basic needs, that we won't have any cuts. But it's also very unlikely that there'll be the kind of investments in the programs and services that we provide that are necessary to meet the growing gap and service needs of people in a community like Nantucket. So we're doing what we do and trying to pivot. We've had challenges a little bit with staffing when we were scooped on who we thought we were going to have come and do our outreach, and we haven't been able to fill that position, but we're hopeful, and we're taking a creative kind of tack on that and posting a couple of different types of positions. So maybe one full-time and then 2 part-time, to see if we can get different people to help us, because we still think that there's a long way to go in terms of leveraging the town and government, all government funding, and leveraging some more private dollars on island. So that's our overall strategy. And I mentioned last year or recently that our model in Nantucket sort of led to us receiving funds from the federal Housing and Urban Development agency to help address food insecurity on the Cape. And then that experience led us to getting that one of 36 national grants to try a new pilot program on Martha's Vineyard. And so we constantly come back to talking about Nantucket, and in doing that, mentioning the extreme cost of living. And so I'm hopeful that we will continue to use whatever progress we make, even if at this point we can't say we're going to add, another 30% given what the resources are, but we can say that we can continue to provide the highest quality services and address the gaps that the people that we're serving are still seeing.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to talk?
Karen and Kelly are fantastic, even if they're not big on public speaking. They're the best.
Well, we're happy to be able to continue to provide services and group education and overdose education, breastfeeding support groups, nutrition support groups as well. We just hope to continue to increase the number of community members that we can meet, as we have been doing the last few years.
In your presentation,
I'm sorry. I would just like to also piggyback on what Julia was talking about with the obesity rate for the children ages 2 to 5. It was really concerning and eye-opening to us when we discovered that during COVID, the WIC participants did not come in, so they weren't being weighed during their appointments, and they didn't start coming in person until August 1st of this past summer. So it has been quite a shock to all of us to have experienced that. So we are already working with community partners to begin programs, but the funding would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Julia, I'm going to ask you also, because we're not going to be calling you in on, we're doing both right now. Can you discuss the funding that you're also asking for in your, under the cannabis grant? For the harm reduction program?
Oh, yes. Well, Karen, do you have more on that? Karen was much more involved in that than me. I don't know if you want to jump in there.
Yep, we have had we had some staffing adjustments to make. And so we're ramping up right now, and we're hoping probably by next month we'll be doing drop-in sessions for Narcan distribution and overdose education, as well as harm reduction supplies. And we're going to be advertising that heavily kind of across the island and sharing that with, all the community organizations. It's going to be open to anyone, clients, non-clients, anyone on the island, community members or organizations that need to be trained for Narcan, or, just need to get it. You can walk in anytime really to get it, as long as we're open, but you're going to have someone there that can speak Spanish and English and be able to explain it in detail how to use it, and other supplies as well, and discuss more. And if they need more help or services, we can connect them with that. So we're really looking forward to ramping that up in the next really month.
But in your grant, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt because I'm not sure. in the grant for the substance misuse, you talk of, you have 6 points that you look at in here. And when you talk about psychiatric care, primary and psychiatric care for children, and you go on, about your WIC program, the harm reduction, the LGBTQT. How is this recovery program? Can you explain this? Because that doesn't really give me an explanation of what this grant you're asking for actually is about. So if I could just get a better explanation on this grant. And if you guys.
I
didn't
just
feel
muted myself,
prepared-
sorry.
you prepared and didn't understand that you'd be presenting this one too, I'd be more than happy to come back at it at another time and try to work it into a schedule so that you can actually do it, Julia. So I'm not-
Yes, yes, I didn't prepare, I'm sorry to say. But I do
That's
know
fine.
the answer to your question, which is I think what we were trying to do is also make sure that in working with all those different groups, we're meeting the needs of people in those communities that are at great risk of substance use disorder. So connecting with LGBTQ groups, connecting with the Fairwinds and others who work with people who, youth who need psychiatric care, and coming up with the initiatives to reach them. I think what we found was in the past that a lot of our harm reduction was limited in other communities to sort of one population that may be people who are experiencing homelessness or who already were using, and so this is more sort of upstream and looking at how do we connect with organizations who are meeting the people at great risk and design interventions that really help. And that includes the overdose, Narcan training, but goes beyond that.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you this question, so you can answer this before people ask questions. Julia, would you like to come back at a further time to
Sure,
make a
yeah.
presentation on this one?
That'd be
Okay.
great. Yeah, sorry
Okay,
about
what
that.
we'll do is, we will reach out to you.
Yeah,
And so that can happen, because I feel that if you didn't understand it was gonna be both, I don't want to put you in a position that's not appropriate, so.
yeah, no, I'm so sorry about that.
That's perfectly okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this for questions in regards to their grant under the Health and Human Services, okay, and not under the recovery program, guys.
The
and then we'll go
Nantucket
from there.
Health Equity Now grant request.
Correct. Okay, thank you, Jericho. And I'll start with Bert. And Julia, we'll reach out to you by the end of today to give you a time.
Okay, I'm so
we'll-
sorry.
That's okay. We'll discuss it at the end of our meeting today.
Okay.
So Bert,
No question.
Sue?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say thank you for all the great work you do in Nantucket. I am fortunate enough to be interning at Fairwind, so I'm walking through your clinic all the time, and it's nice to see people there, and it's busy and people are getting help, so it's great.
Thank you so much.
Linda?
I second Sue's comments. It's an essential thing starting way back in, 40 some odd years ago, I guess, with family planning. It's great work that you're doing. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, John?
I guess I don't have any further questions, and I'd have to say it's having sort of part of my growing up on this committee was coming back when your organization was really just getting its foot in the place, and that the fact that you've grown it and you've gotten yourself into the community and then been able to collaborate with existing organizations here is really a tribute to the way you've organized your whole operation.
So much. Thank you for your help and support. I really appreciate it.
Okay, Veronica.
Yeah,
I'm focused on the childhood obesity situation, and I think that it's a wonderful thing that you were able to see that jump because of the gap in years of having the regular contact with patients. And you mentioned that you're doing some collaborative programming in nutrition. Can you tell a little bit about what you're doing there?
Sure. So we have been reaching out and working with Pauline over at the Nantucket Community School to, it's always been hard to get parents to come to groups anyways. So we're going to try all different ways to do it, whether it's daytime, nighttime, but also work with the Boys and Girls Club we want to have cooking things to teach, but we also want to have exercise and dance and sort of make it normal. This is how it's normal to do, not to sort of not to pick on the families that are experiencing this, but to invite everyone and be inclusive of everyone in the community for them to learn about how important an issue this is.
I would love to see some collaboration potentially with the food pantry.
Oh, most definitely.
There is so much regulation as far as the food that is available or that flows through because it's federally funded for the most part. But your clients are coming there for food. If there could be cooking classes or something, because there's over 200 to 300 families over the course of a week that funnel through there. And they have children that are falling in this category. So
yes, and cooking classes are definitely on the docket, and a lot to show them how to use the WIC foods and the foods they get at a food pantry in order to sort of cook a healthier meal.
But it's also nice to hear that over the years, as society has changed and our community has changed, that you still are doing programs that were identified 10, 20 years ago, whatever, and now this is a new program that hopefully will continue on. So I listened to your presentation and I think of all the changes in society, and thank you for providing what you do, because it's extremely necessary.
Thank you.
Question.
You have a question?
Yeah,
Okay, because I have a bunch.
you go first.
Yeah. Okay, Julia, I have a bunch of questions. Have you ever known me not?
I should have had 2 cups of coffee instead of the 1. Why cut back today?
Do you, I couldn't see it in there, but are you offering support group programs to the LGBTQ community right now on the island?
Do not have a specific program for that, but I do believe that we are trying to work with the schools, right? Again, Karen, I know we did before COVID and we've been trying, but.
And Karen, can I ask you, are you having success with the school and who you're speaking to or trying to at the school?
Yeah, well, we did do a number of sessions in the last school year. At the end of the last school year, we usually go in and do sessions on pregnancy prevention and STI, sexually transmitted infection prevention. So then we hope to do the same thing again this year and maybe expand to other locations as well. Because this was just at the high school.
Right, but I was asking about the LGBTQ
community.
You used to do an outreach program with them a few years ago, and I'm wondering, are you starting it? And if you are, and you're trying to get into school, who are you speaking with?
Oh, okay. We don't have it up and running at this point.
Okay. What kind of outreach programs do you have running right now? And how many clients do you believe are using those outreach programs? Anybody?
I just muted myself again. So I think, am I still muted?
No, you're not.
Oh, good. Okay. So I think in terms of outreach programs, what we're doing now is connecting with the different organizations to make sure the services are being provided on the sexual and reproductive health side. Part of the issue is the vacant position where we're recording Sunny. And so I think that that's where we're trying to hire and to get some more of those initiatives going. And that's what we're also hoping by expanding the harm reduction, even though I'll talk about that later, that'll give us the opportunity to have the staff bandwidth to do things outside of the clinic. Because right now, you know, we're really focusing on the clinical services and getting people to the clinic. On the WIC side, by having a nutritionist, that person going out into the community to do the cooking classes, we have a little more bandwidth there. So it's definitely still you know, a top priority, because not only are adolescents and young adults a priority, but the LGBTQIA+ community is as well. So I think, you know, what we're hoping to do is not just work only with this high school, but in the past we have also engaged with sort of peer leaders, and that's something we've been trying to do across all of our sites, but it really requires you know, adequate staffing to manage it. So like ideally we would, you know, again, have, you know, pay a living wage, or, you know, it would be part-time, of course, to adolescents to help co-facilitate groups. And so that's something that we are hoping to do in the next several months.
Okay. It looks like your I'm just reading my questions. It looks like your reproductive health clinic is open Monday through Fridays, expanded hours on Tuesdays. This is a significant difference from what you were offering previously. What are the exact hours of these clinics that somebody can, instead of Tuesdays and Thursdays, they now can go in Monday through Friday? Did I read that correctly?
We're open Monday through Friday, Friday in the morning, so we can do a lot of visits with our counseling staff in terms of testing and you know, referring, connecting to services. We can do a lot of appointments like that, and our counseling staff do that. And then we have our clinic days where we have our clinician there, and we can do the more complex care.
So what I'm sorry, so reading the thing, I didn't quite get that. The clinical hours that they can actually see somebody, are they still Tuesdays and Thursdays?
They're Thursdays, and then we're adding back in Tuesdays. But since we don't have an on-island clinician, it kind of changed the way we had to operate, because we're operating around boat times right now. So we're kind of adjusting days. We had to shift a little bit, and now we're adding back in. It probably won't be in the evening, but it's going to be 2 days a week additionally, probably starting in March.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have a nurse practitioner now that's
We'll
working
be there 2 days.
2 days, but right now it's 1 day a week? Okay, so so the number of individuals you served in fiscal year 23 is 1,041. I don't know how many of those in the clinic, if you've, and I know this is, I'm just trying to get a real feel here. If you're only doing 1 day of clinical, that's a lot of patients not being able to be seen, right?
Not necessarily. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so how have you been able, Julia, if you can answer that, how that going to the 1 day versus the 2 day of clinicals?
Because I think what we've found is that oftentimes we have more capacity to see someone in a number of hours, and that sometimes people are spread out over 2 days, and the nurse practitioner could have seen maybe not all of them, but a lot of them within that same time period. Right, Karen?
Okay.
So we often have, you know, in the past had you know, not just in Nantucket, but in other places, a clinic canceled, for example, because someone was sick. And then we'd have to reschedule people, and we wouldn't necessarily lose people even within the next few days, because we can fit people in. And by having, you know, one of the nice things about having other clinics is that, you know, what Karen's alluding to is that we have off-island staff or practitioners come on island to provide the services. So if we saw that there was a huge need, for example, and people were calling for a lot of appointments, we'd send someone for a longer period of time or for another day. But we're not seeing that. And especially in the winter, the numbers really aren't, you know, that significant. So I don't believe it has really necessarily restricted access at all.
No,
So
I
it
agree.
doesn't change the access, having only one
No.
clinical. Oh, interesting. And how many people do you have currently enrolled in the WIC program for, like, sorry, how many people are currently, helping or are enrolled in the WIC program?
The
For,
last number that I looked at was 284
for fiscal year
for
24.
Nantucket.
And so when Kelly says 284, that's at this moment in time. And so it's confusing about like the number of people served will still be 475 or 450, for example, because it's anyone during that year.
Correct. I was just asking to
Yeah.
get, you know,
Yeah.
what it was right now.
Well, I always get confused about the way we tell the numbers, so I was explaining it to myself.
No, that's okay. And so you said the person providing the service or the nurse practitioner is coming from off island, correct?
Yes, our long-term nurse practitioner retired in around July, I believe.
Okay. Fabulous. My other question.
Ideally would like to hire someone on island, but you know, the challenges we've had there with primary care.
NP.
Yeah. Okay, Julia, my other questions all had to do with the harm reduction program. So with that being said, I'm going to not ask them and wait till we can schedule a time for you. Does anybody have any other follow-up questions? Okay, guys.
And my apologies.
Estimated. It was just a question about the rate of change in childhood obesity pre and post pandemic, but that might get a little nerdy, so I'll ask that in an email later. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys again. Fabulous service that you provide. I don't know where we would be without something like you available in the community. So
thank you
so guys a great deal.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for your patience and allowing us to finish with our last client.
And thanks for your patience for my not being prepared for the second piece. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And we'll reach out to you. We'll come up with some time and get in touch with you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Center. Okay, so we are down to just committee members and
Yeah,
we
we are.
have 8 minutes.
We are committee members. I don't. Sorry, let me clear this up. I don't think we had anything else. Oh, we didn't review minutes.
Yeah, I don't believe Tamika has finished the most recent one. Last time we discussed this, there was a backlog of 2 that needed approval that we didn't have.
Right, but since I skipped it over,
Okay.
we can't do it. Cause I missed it on the agenda,
I
sorry
gotcha.
guys, to get everybody in, so we can't do it right now.
We did 6 in this, which is, I think, a record.
We did a great job. They did a great job presenting, yeah.
Could
and
the minutes that need, oh, sorry.
Excuse me?
Could the minutes that need to be approved, could those be resent?
Yeah.
Because now I've lost track.
I will have Tamika send out all of the outstanding minutes, including this one, ahead of our next Monday. I cannot speak for how long she's gonna be off island, but as soon as we can, we'll get those all out and resent to everybody.
Thank you.
And I think that we are going to have, if I'm correct, for the next meeting, before we get to, we will have the quarterly reports in hand.
We should, there
And
were
so,
2 outstanding that I think we have in, we should have all of them out.
right, we should have all of them in for the next meeting. You should have them in hand by the 22nd and for everybody to review, and then we'll vote upon them at the following meeting that goes into deliberations after the 22nd. Okay? Just so everybody, like, be aware of them, look for them, please read them. If you have questions or comments or anything that you want, I do on these packets. I would like to have the finances on a lot of these people. I don't know what they're raising financially in like, there's nothing here for me, with some of them on what they brought in fundraising. And I don't know whether we got it and I didn't get it, but there's some, like, I definitely have some of their fundraising information, others I don't. I would love to get it, a budget and a more pronounced budget from Fairwinds, who's asking for a tremendous amount of money on both ways. Cause we just don't know what people are doing. So I would like to see it on some of these. So, Jericho, if I gave a list, could we get a little bit better on finance, like budgets and finances from these guys
Sure.
when we go forward? So.
You have the cannabis group coming in here in about less than 15 minutes.
Right.
Into your
we know
building.
that Be off, we have
know
to be
that.
off in a few minutes here. Do we want to schedule excuse me,
Health imperatives.
health imperatives for Monday? Because that's where we'll have to fit in.
But we're already at max on Monday.
That's an evening one, correct?
See, yeah, because what you don't realize, I mean, you were here, but we've actually put in fair winds here too.
Right.
We are gonna have to reevaluate.
And that's gonna be very late.
Okay.
And on top of the fact that you're inside the 48-hour notice for a Monday meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna have to have them come in on the 29th then. Okay,
we've done our thing for that.
okay.
And what day are we talking about here?
We are,
29th, which is already on our schedule,
Right.
is health imperatives to it.
so I
Okay, we
will
got to
ex-
keep in mind that the select board and the FinCom are going to want these recommendations because CPC had to turn them in by yesterday.
we're
So-
Yeah,
still,
I'm just gonna, can I just
Yeah,
say this, Jericho? We have been actively working very hard on getting everybody in and accommodating the needs of everybody. And because of the two of them and trying to get them into one slot, we will have to move health imperatives. They did not understand that they would be presenting two. I was also told that Fairwinds felt that they could have used 2 time periods to present both of them.
Okay.
So, and I think that I had a lot of questions left for Fairwinds because we clearly didn't get through them. So, I think what we look at is, longer time periods, eventually later, but I think we've done a very good job, everybody has, in trying to get as much done as possible. And so moving it to the 29th, we know our deadlines and we're just gonna work hard at it. So I don't know if anybody else has any of these that they would like to see, a more intensive finances, but definitely Fairwinds is one of the ones that I would like to see. A little bit more intense. Also, I would like to ask, I should have asked Julia Kehoe, that's one too, okay? On a more, because they're asking for such large amounts of money, I would really like to see where we are on them. And I think the Interfaith Council.
Interfaith Council also, but I
Yeah.
think they may have a little bit more.
They put a little bit more
In
in
there.
here. It's much better. They have enough information, I believe.
Yeah.
And then,
So
that's
do
it
we-
for me. Those are the ones that I really would like to see better finances on.
I'm sorry.
And,
Interfaith is included in that or no?
no, because they
Okay.
gave us
They
one.
gave.
But I would love to get fundraising amounts, some of these on, what they actually brought in on fundraising. And I asked small friends and they told it was more, but I think I would actually like to get the numbers on what they're bringing in fundraising activities.
Right, they told us how much more, but what is the total?
What is
Yeah.
the total? Yeah. Because Addiction Solutions told us the total they were doing. Did you ever get that paperwork from, Alan,
The
The new
projected budget?
New budget.
I believe I did.
Can you send it to us?
I will send that out. Addiction Solutions quarterlies 2024 and 2023 budget.
Does
Let me send that out
everybody
right now.
Yep, so he's sending, Jericho is sending out, we requested at the last meeting, a budget from Addiction Solutions from Alan Bell, and he sent it to Jericho, so we'll be sending it out to everybody.
And it should be out now. All right. I am. When we,
Did you send it out?
it's sent out, yeah.
Thank
Can
you very
we,
much.
are we good to adjourn? We should,
No, we're gonna make sure that, any other questions, anybody? No?
should be the forward that just landed in your inboxes.
Oh, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second,
Okay, Veronica,
Aye.
Sue,
aye.
Bert,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Linda,
I.
Dorothy, I thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
all.
Symbol like-
I know, I'm
Something
sorry.
See you